Hi everyone, in this video we're going to go over how to use GTmetrix. GTmetrix is a really popular tool for analyzing site speed performance. To succeed online, you need to have a fast website, and you can check your site performance by using tools like GTmetrix. It works by analyzing your URL, and it'll show you various parameters that will help identify what's slowing down your site, and then you can then fix those issues. Improving your site speed will give you plenty of benefits, such as a higher position on the search engine results pages and a better chance to make your visitors stay longer. In this video, we'll go over everything that GTmetrix has to offer and how to analyze the results in the report that they make for you as well. So with GTmetrix, the way it works is that it'll provide you with a performance score and a report that shows the current state of your website as is, and then it'll give you some suggestions on what can be improved. It's a free tool to use, but there are some limitations to it. The premium versions of GTmetrix will also is a bit more flexible, but there's still a lot that you can do with the free version, as we'll see today. Another thing worth mentioning is how GTmetrix incorporates results from Google Page Speeds Insights and YSlow to form the performance score and recommendations. That means you don't have to perform the tests on any other tools, since the results cover a wide spectrum of performance metrics and present them comprehensively. Before you run a speed performance test in GTmetrix, though, there's some factors that you need to consider. It's essential to make sure that the test results are accurate and relevant, and after all, the more accurate it is, the more precise the results will be, and you can make a better informed decision on what will actually help improving your website. The things that you need to consider are the number of tests. So it's not enough to do a one-time test, since the results might change based on the amount of traffic. Try repeating the test at different times of the day. Test locations is also important. So if you have a local audience, you might want to set the location of the test to the one that's nearest to your visitors. With GTmetrix, you can set what location-based server you want to test your site in. So if your audience is based in the UK, then you can choose a UK-based server to test your site with. If your audience is in Australia, then you can pick a server based in Australia to test your site with, and that will give you more accurate results. But if you target global audiences, then you should do the test with multiple regions around the globe and not just one. Test subjects are also really important, so testing multiple posts and pages for a better analysis. This will help find out better what part needs to be optimized. Keep in mind that the primary goal to optimize your website and your site is to improve the entire site's performance rather than just the performance score. So you have to take each suggestion on the report into account to decide what will make the largest, most positive impact. So when it comes to actually using GTmetrix, there's two ways. You can go online to gtmetrix.com and you'll see this page here. And all you need to do is essentially just enter the URL that you want to analyze and then just click test your site. So you can just paste in the URL, whatever that is, and then change your site and then test your site. As mentioned before, there's some customization options you can do, one of them being the testing location. By default, it'll test it using the Chrome browser in a server based in Canada. But what you want to do is click on change options, and then you can see all the options that you want to change. So if you wanted to change your options, you need to make sure that you have an account registered with them first. Again, setting up an account is free. All you need to do is go onto the website, click on get started for free, and type in your first name, last name, email, and a password. So now that you have your account registered, what you want to do is type in the name of the URL again, and then you want to go into analysis options, and you can see the different options that you have. So depending on what plan you're on, so obviously with the free plan, what we can do is change the test URL server. So right now we have, it's based in Canada, but we can change it to any one of these servers, and it'll give us an idea on how the performance is based on those locations. Using different kind of mobile testing as well, and what kind of connections as well. So there's a lot of sort of customizations options that you can do. The advanced options are additional features that you can do sort of on your page as well. But once you've selected your location settings, everything like that, you want to click on Analyze, and GTmetrix will then analyze your URL and test it for all the different audits that they have, and then present you with a report and a score that you can use to kind of fix your website. So after your website is done analyzing, it'll give you a performance score and a report as well. And you can see the performance scores and the total load time that it took as well. And underneath that, you can see the 6 tabs covering different sections of the report, each consisting of different suggestions to improve your site as well. So things like your summary, a page speed, what performance, structure, waterfall, things like that. All of these are being analyzed. So when it comes to the summary and the page speed, so like the performance as well, this tab provides recommendations based on Google page speed insights, such as leverage browser caching, image dimensions, enabling keep alive, and minifying HTML. And you can see the overall page speed score in the performance scores box. You can see each of them here with the speed visualizations as well. The Y-Slow is similar to page speed. It also shows suggestions for improving speed, but it provides different solutions like making fewer HTTP requests, reducing DNS lookups, and using CDN. Waterfall, this tab basically tab basically shows you how long each resources took to load. Examining this tab will offer lots of insights on which resources should be optimized. For example, if a certain image is taking too long to load, then you can use an image optimizer either on a plugin or even just a website to reduce the size, replace it, and then improve the loading score. The timing and the video of everything will show you, so this tab essentially will show you and the entire video process, so you can see which elements of the page took more time to load visually. You can also download the video if you want to document the site's performance on each test. You would need to enable video and then retest as well. Then you have history, and this tab shows the history of test results, and you can see the change in page load time, size, speed, and Y-Slow scores. The great thing about GTmetrix is that each tab that you have has this little question mark, or they have a little button that says learn how to improve this, and what those basically will give you a little bit more information into what those audits actually mean. So if we were to click on this one, for example, and click on learn how to improve this, it'll take us to another page, to GTmetrix's own documentation, that'll show you exactly what that audit is, what it's about, what triggers it, how does it affect your load time, things like that. And it's especially important for for a beginner, because it just means then anything you're having trouble with, they have their own documentation to explain quite clearly what those tests mean and how you can improve. Some of them will have the include tests as well, and you can go through their documentation and go through all of these as well, to see exactly what the issue is and what they mean and how to fix it. You can see with analysis options, you have all these options here, and you can also do report filtering as well. So you can filter, if you have quite a number of reports, then you can filter by certain filter options as well. So that's using GTmetrix online, using their website, and this is again free to use and you can use it at any time. The other option is downloading the GTmetrix plugin and adding it to your WordPress website, and that way you can test the site directly from your WordPress dashboard as opposed to going on the site over and over again, and you can monitor that site quite easily as well, over and over again if you needed to. which is a good idea as well. So to download to add the GTmetrix plugin onto your site, what you want to do is log into the back end of your site and go onto your dashboard. Once you're on your dashboard, what you want to do is go into plugins. And then you want to click on add new. And in the search button, search plugins, you want to click into that and to search for GTmetrix, all one word. And you're looking for the GTmetrix for WordPress plugin by GTmetrix, and you just click on install now. And then just activate it. And you can see there's a new GTmetrix tab on the dashboard as well. So to set up your GTmetrix plugin, you just need to click into it. And you can see first thing you need to do is set up the authentication. So you need to have an API key to use the plugin. You can create a free account to get the API keys, as I showed you earlier. So the free account, if your account is on the free plan, then it will come with a limited number of requests per day. However, if you are using this on one website, then you're likely to never run out of credits for that. So what you want to do is, once you've created your free account, you want to go into the accounts dashboard on GTmetrix. So you're on GTmetrix now, and all you want to do is click on account. And you want to essentially go onto the API key here and just regenerate API keys, create new API keys basically. You want to just make an API key for your website basically. For each website you just get the one API key, so if you remove that, it does get deleted afterwards. So you want to copy that API key and go back to your website. And then you want to paste in the API key here, and then you want to type in the email account associated with that API key as well, and then you just want to click Save Changes to save all your changes. And you can see now you have a lot more options when you're on the settings page, and each of these options will help customize your testing and also the plugin on the dashboard. So things you can do is you can show the dashboard widgets. So if you're on the dashboard, there is a new widget for GTmetrix, sort of at the bottom. So it just means then you get an easier way to test your dashboard from the plugin. It might be a good idea to just tidy up your dashboard a little bit, but it just means as soon as you log in, you can just quickly test your front page. If you go back into settings to finish setting up, and then you can decide if you want to show GTmetrix on the toolbar, and then you can decide if you want to default your ad block status, so if you want to turn on ad block and see the difference the ad networks make on your blog. This is if you have a blog website that is going to be running a lot of blogs, you can see how that's affecting your performance. The next thing you want to test is the default location. So whenever you are testing your website, this will let you choose an overall location for your website. And again, you want to base this off where your target audience is. If they are based in London, then you want to, or if they're based in the UK, you want to pick a server that's closest to that as well. And again, if you're targeting global customers, then you would need to run a few tests on different servers every day. And then you want to set up the alerts email. So whenever a test is being run, or any kind of alerts that'll be made up from this, from the plugin, who should they be sent to? So you can decide who they should be sent to, whether it's your email or another user on your website. And then you want to set the front page of the URL. So this is just whenever you are testing the web port from the button on the dashboard, it'll use whatever URL that you set in the front page URL. And then you can sort of see what you want the widget to show. If you want to show page speed grade, slow grade, show scores, things like that, and that'll be showing up on the and that'll show up on the dashboard. And you can also decide if you want to reset the test. So if you click on reset, it will flush all of GTmetrix records from the WordPress database. And then when you're done, you just want to click Save Changes. And that's all your changes saved. So next thing you want to do is go into tests, and this is where you can finally start testing your website. And you basically just want to type in the name of your domain or type the title of the page or post, and you just want to do that here. And then you want to add a label for your reports. This can be any label. Performance report 1. This is optional, so the plugin will generate its own report name afterwards if you want it. And then decide if you want to block it with Ad Plus or if you want a video associated with that. So you can have the video, but just to remind you that it will require 5 API credits. You can check how many API credits you have within a day, have every day on your account dashboard on GTmetrix. And then when you're done, you just want to click on Test URL Now. And you can see the score being generated as well. So you can retest your scores, you can see a detailed report, and you can see the sort of a brief summary of the load time, things like that, how many requests were made. And if you click on detailed report, it will bring you to a more detailed report on GTmetrix, and you can see a little bit more information on what is needed in terms of improvements and things like that. So the main difference is the same kind of information that you'll get if you were to use the WordPress, if you were to use the normal GTmetrix website. The only difference is just convenience. The installing the plugin will just mean then you can do the testing as soon as you log in, and you can do it from one dashboard instead of having to go into another website and do it there. It just means there is one more plugin added to your website though, so just to check that. The plugin itself is quite lightweight, so shouldn't affect too much of your load time, but it's just something to be aware of. If you're fine just using the normal GTmetrix website, then there's no need to kind of use the plugin. You can just always use the normal GTmetrix website. You can see in your account dashboard though, you can see how many credits that you have, and when your credits will reset. So they reset every day. And if you need more, you can always purchase them from GTmetrix.com. But again, if you're just using it to monitor the one site, then the amount of credits that they give you every day should be enough. You shouldn't really need to top up more or go to a pro plan. But you can just click on this button here to get more API credits and pick one of the plans that they have instead. Another cool thing that you can do with the plugin though is you can schedule some tests. So if you click on the schedule tab here on the left underneath the GTmetrix tab, you can essentially set up scheduled tests. You can see with the report that we currently have, so if you click into it, you can see a more detailed version of it. The next thing you want to do then is click on schedule tests. And then you can set up how often you should schedule the test. So if you want the test to be hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, again, this just depends on how many credits that you will have every single day. We can run them daily and decide if you want to be emailed or when you want it to be emailed. So if your page speed score is less than a certain grade, if the Y-slow score is less than a certain grade, if it's greater than something, if page size is greater than something. So essentially, if it's hit a certain benchmark for a slow performing site, you can get email notifications, and you can add multiple different ones as well. If it's more than one, if you want to be notified for all of these, then you can. And then you want to set the status, so you can, if it's active, it'll always run. If it's paused, then it'll stop running. So instead of deleting the full schedule, you can just pause it for a little bit if you wanted to. And you can also pause it due to recurring failures as well. But then once you've set that up, you just want to click on save. And you can see when you go into schedule, this is our schedule test, and we can delete the schedule. We can pause the schedule even, and edit the actual schedule as well. If you wanted to edit it, you just click on edit the server, edit the event, and then decide when you're going to be running this test as well. So those are the main differences between using the GTmetrix WordPress plugin as opposed to the URL. But again, it's the same features on both. What you're really getting out of it is convenience, just having everything on one dashboard as opposed to a separate dashboard. As mentioned before, the GTmetrix has a free version that has a lot of features that you can use every single day. And get started with. But if you want, you can also go premium and get a lot more features. So if you go on to GTmetrix's pricing page, they have a plan. They have different plans for different kinds of businesses and different kinds of organizations. So obviously you have the free plan, and you get the different sort of the amount of weekly on-demand tests, daily API credits, data retention, things like that. They have the solo and starter and growth in the individual plan. So this is really for sites that you have here. And then you've got business plan. So you have plans for different kind of business types as well. Obviously the business plans are a little bit more expensive, but they come with a lot more features as well. Things like more monitored slots, a lot more daily API credits, hourly monitoring, things like that. And you can also decide on the plan terms. So if you want monthly plans or yearly plans, you'll see obviously it works out a lot cheaper if you were to go for a yearly plan. So you can save up to 15% on a yearly plan, both on the individual or the business as well. And all the pricing is in USD. You can see exactly what is included on every single plan. So it's really good if you have that as well. With their custom plans, it just it doesn't have any sort of starting prices or anything. It just means you can get in contact with them and set up a plan that will be really suited to your needs, as opposed to going for one of the plans that are already out there. This is especially useful if you have sites with very sort of complex functionality, more functionality that you needed, or if there's certain things that are offered within more expensive plans that you don't need, but there's certain things that you do need that only come with the more expensive plans, and these are just different ways to kind of get around that and add new and add different functionality to your site as well. You can see also in the pricing page they've got sort of frequently asked questions as well, but if there's more questions that you have, you can contact them and get in touch with them mainly via email. So you'll submit a form and they'll be able to get in touch with you again afterwards through email. So some of the most common issues that are seen with WordPress websites, especially for performance, are things like avoiding enormous payload networks or properly sizing images or using compressed images. Images take a lot more time to load than text, so if a page has a lot of images, then it slows down your website. On the other hand, images are also really important for user engagement and you can't avoid them. So the solution is to use optimized WordPress plugins for optimizing images, and you can still use the same images but with a smaller file size. Smush is a really popular image optimization plugin, so they offer to optimize your images as soon as they're uploaded. They can bulk optimize images that are already on your website, and they can turn on lazy loading and resize compress with lossless compression, meaning that the image won't lose quality once they're being compressed. We have seen it improve Google page speeds and GTmetrix page speeds as well. It's incredibly powerful, and it's a free WordPress image smusher as well, so it's a really good one to have. The other option, if you don't want to add more plugins onto your site, what you can do is make sure the images are optimized first before uploading them to your site. Websites like TinyPNG are really fast, really easy to use, and it uses smart lossy compression techniques to reduce the size of your files, whether they're WebP, PNG, or JPEG, and they basically will compress your images, and it just means then when you're uploading the images to your site, they're already compressed, and you don't need to worry about installing any third-party plugins to optimize them for you. Generally, it is better to optimize images first before adding them to your website, but you can also add plugins to your website to optimize them later. TinyPNG is a free version, is free to use, but you can also use applications like Photoshop that come with a feature that allows you to save images specifically for web in web formats, so that's already compressed for you. Photoshop obviously is a paid tool, and TinyPNG is just a little bit is cheaper, but completely free to use as well. Other issues that can have a negative effect on your performance is gzip compression, and making sure gzip compression is enabled. So it's to do with your file size essentially. So file size and types of your files can affect the overall load time of a site, since the browser needs to load different file types like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. To solve that problem, you can try using gzip compression, and you can check whether your site enabled it by using the small SEO's check gzip compression tool. So it's this tool here. You just go into the website, type in the URL, and just check if it's been compressed. If your site doesn't have gzip compression enabled, you can turn it on by modifying the htaccess file. You just need to go to the public HTML directory of your site with an FTP client like FileZilla, or by using your cPanel on your hosting compression as well. It can also depend on your hosting provider. Certain hosting providers like Hostinger uses Lightspeed for hosted WordPress websites, and they have gzip enabled by default. So check with your hosting provider first, see if they can enable it for you if it's not already enabled, and if not, it may be some manual work on your part as well. You can also install a plugin like WP Fastest Cache, and the free version of that allows you to enable gzip compression in just a few clicks. Some other issues that tends to come up are things like minifying JavaScript and CSS. So minifying CSS, JavaScript, and HTML is another way to improve your loading time. It just removes unnecessary characters in each file, like white space characters or new line characters. You can try minifying web files by using tools like Minify Code. Copy the original code from GTmetrix, which can be found in the minifying suggestion. Paste the original code to the minification tool to get the optimized results. Then copy it and overwrite the original text in your site's directory. And you can do that with any kind of file manager or FTP client. You also need to make sure that you are using good hosting for your WordPress website. So if you are using a low quality WordPress hosting provider, then there's not much you can do to improve the performance of your website. Some recommendations for WordPress hosting is, for example, Bluehost. Bluehost is an officially recommended WordPress hosting provider. They have really good prices and it comes with built-in caching as well. So you can see there's lots of things you can improve upon if you have a tool like GTmetrix to kind of point out those issues for you. GTmetrix again is really easy to use, very user friendly, and there's loads of documentation out there as well to use it as well. A lot of issues that come up in GTmetrix can be easily fixed through some plugins or image optimizations, things like that. It's just important that you are constantly testing your site, checking for any new issues, checking for any last lingering issues, and making sure that they're getting sorted as soon as possible. Where possible, try and get your hosting provider to help. But other than that, everything else is a little bit more straightforward to fix anyway.